Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Marwell Manor. It's the final day of autumn. There are all of our bales stacked up there that we pulled off the field, minus the 8 that are sort of still stacked over there and fermenting by the barn. They'll be put into storage when they're ready, and those ones there, we'll be looking to sell those off tomorrow. But it's time for us to actually start work on cutting up field 19. So yesterday we mowed this top section, cleaned all that out, and you can see here the area that we're going to be sort of ploughing. All that area just there, that's going to become a really nice, good sized field for us. So we're going to start by trying to create a kind of an edge up here. We start about here. And we can kind of have a pathway that kind of follows the hedge line up a little bit. So let's drop our plough in and create our border along here first of all. We'll need to do a couple of passes along here, and then we'll be sort of running along the edges and sculpting out the edge of our field, and then we can start running up and down and passing. We'll need to do at least a couple of passes on each end of the field. Simply given how long the plough is. We're going to take this right up towards the top of the hedgerow up here. We'll do up to about here. We turn and go back around. There we go. I'll try and get a little bit closer. That bit that we've already done. About there. Oops. Plough has decided to turn itself around. I wasn't expecting it to do that. Get some lights on as well so I can just see in this far edge over here. It's a little bit rough over here at the moment. It's going to take, because of the angle and the width of the plough, it's going to take us a little bit of sort of finagling to kind of get everything around here cut the way we want it. Okay, turn the plough again. Go. Try and get ourselves in position a little bit. Let's change the angle of the plough slightly as well. Oops, missed a touch just there. There we go, so I think maybe one more pass just to be safe. That's what we'll do. Let's just turn our plough and turn around. There we go, and then we'll straighten the edges up as we come back along the field. And what we'll do as well is we'll kind of strip away some of the grass over the winter to actually create a pathway up to this field as well, to put a kind of a natural break in between our cropland here and our grassland just over there. We'll kind of split things out a bit. Might even possibly plant a couple of trees just up here at the top part of the map, just because it's going to be such a small little workable area up here that, you know, we might put in a couple of trees or something up there. I'm not quite sure yet. So we're going to need to do all this side border piece over there, but for now I just want to kind of create a straight line running down the field this way. So if I drop my plough out here, I'm going to use a worker to just get my first sort of furrows in, then got a sort of an edge to work from all the way down the field, and I'll do the same on the other side, and then I'll probably do the borders around the edge, and then we can come back and we can start chewing up this big expanse of grass here in the middle. But this should run us quite nicely up against that sort of hedgerow over there as the field sort of bends in and then curves back around again on that edge there. So, like I say, we're just starting to sculpt the edges, give us that little bit of shape. And this would be quite a substantial amount of land for us to work. We're not going to be able to afford to lime it straight away, but hopefully sort of late winter, early spring, we'll certainly have some cash by then, you know, with our bale sales and with our crop sales as well. We'll have the cash to spend to buy the lime. That's something we can't afford at the moment. You can see our combination of leasing fees and overnight costs and stuff. We're at sort of just under 3,500 overdrawn at the moment. That's a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. That money will come back to us tomorrow when our silage bales are fermented and ready to sell. So I'm not worried about that at all. Now if I make my way over to this corner, do the same again. You can see we've got a little bit of grass there. That'll just get mulched up into the field as we run the plough over it. And what I want to do, get in position, is just put in our edge over here as well. So we'll start here, just try and straighten up a bit. There we go. And this is kind of just showing you just how much width we'll actually have just in a straight pass. You know, that's without sort of the field stretching all the way out across there. So just on this sort of width across here, you can see that's quite a few passes with the seeder. You know, a 9-meter seeder. That's a lot of passes. You know, with a combine, that'll be just as many, because the combine's actually got, I think, a 7-meter header, or just over 7-meter header. So even more passes with the combine. A good amount of crop. We'll be able to reap quite a lot of crop off this field just on cutting this central section here. And you can see how much wider the field goes from one point down there right against its narrowest edge over there to its widest over here. That's a lot of extra ground we can get in there as well. So this is definitely going to help us out massively when it comes to sort of crop volume next year. And run this up to our sort of edge point just over here. That's a really wide piece of ground over there, isn't it now? Now you can see just how far away that hedgerow is. And there we go. So, what I'm going to do is work these edges first of all. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to work out this sort of smaller section over here, and then when that's done, I'm going to do everything on the opposite side over there, on that hedgerow, and then when that's done, then we'll come back and do everything in the middle. So I'll crack on getting these sort of side bits done, and I'll catch up with you in a little while. So there we go, the borders all around the field are done. So now we just need to run up and down in this central kind of section here. Get all this land churned and ploughed. Loosen up this soil and get a nice little bit of field available for us. You can see time is ticking on. It's coming up on 11:15. So it's going to take us another few hours to get this done yet. I think, this is going to be our main job for the day. We're also going to do a little bit of TLC with the cows. The electrician has turned up and has started working on the lighting. He's putting lights all around the yard and inside some of our buildings as well. So he's going to be busy all day. Probably won't be finished until tomorrow. And we're going to start loading up some bales onto a trailer towards the end of the day as well, ready for tomorrow, so that we can go and head those over to the store and get those sold off. We're also going to start paying attention to crop pricing as well. We're approaching our sort of ideal sell window for our canola crop and our oat crop. So fingers crossed we'll actually get some really strong pricing and be able to sell those off. With the oats, because we have so much, we may possibly have to look at splitting that over a couple of different days or a couple of different locations. It all depends on whether or not we end up crashing the market price at one particular sell point, because we do have a very, very large volume to sell. Let's get turned around. There we go. And the quicker we can get this ploughing done as well, the less expense we're going to incur throughout the day. We haven't ticked over onto sort of another lease fee yet for this, but we will soon. I'm pretty sure of that for this plough, which is obviously going to push our expenses up a little bit more, quite a bit more actually. We could end up spending a fair bit of money today getting this field done. So that's going to be quite a few bales just to pay for the cost of leasing this plough. But we didn't have the money to buy it, and we didn't really have a need to buy it as well. Once this field is done, we probably won't need a plough until we acquire more land, which won't be at the earliest, I think, until next year. Because if we do acquire another field, it's more likely going to be field 17, which we're going to use as a meadow. So, I mean, there's the other half of this field that we could potentially do, or we could keep it separated as two fields, which I might well do. If we do end up ploughing out all of 19, I might keep that kind of separation between the two fields. I need to have a think about that. But plenty of ploughing still to go, as you can see. Lots and lots of ground that we need to rip up here. So I'll crack on with this a bit more, and I'll catch up with you when we've made a little bit more progress. We're just past midday now, and as you can see, I've started to split the field into two sections. So I go down on this side of this sort of furrow here, and then come back up on that edge over there. So we're kind of staggering our cutting all the way across the field, rotating the plough at the top of each pass. You see there, we're just cutting away quite nicely. And we have been hit with another instalment payment on the lease of our plough, so we're now just under 5,000 overdrawn. Again, it's not insurmountable. It's, you know, something we can easily pay off tomorrow, but it's just another little extra expense that we could kind of do without. We are running a little low on fuel as well. I'm hoping we'll be able to get this all done before we run out, because we don't have we don't have any money to put fuel back in if we do run out. So we would have to kind of just, if we did run out of fuel with the 7R, which is not an impossibility, then we would have to really just overwork the 6M to just try and pull this, which would be an absolute crawl, because the 6M only has about 160 horsepower at its best, and it's not there at the moment. It needs a bit of a tune-up over the winter. So we're probably looking at around maybe 130, 140 horsepower at absolute best from the 6M, and this plough needs about 300 to pull it. So while it's not really affecting the 7R too much, because we've got 350 base horsepower and we're probably down to about 300 at the moment, it's certainly going to be a problem for the 6M if we do run out of fuel and have to finish off the field with that. Keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to be okay. We did miss a little bit at the edge of the field there. I had a feeling we might have done. Approached it at a bit of the wrong angle, really. There we go. Let's try and get back onto where we need to be. Get cruise control on. There we go. And I'm trying to keep the edge of the furrow sort of about 2/3 or to halfway across on the mudguard of the front right wheel there, the front right corner. So that's kind of my guide point, my reference point for keeping a straight line as best as I can. Seems to be working so far. Coming up on 1:45 in the afternoon, and we just need one more pass on this side of the field, a couple of passes on that side of the field. So I think one more complete lap around the field and this should be pretty much done. You know, finishing this one off down that side, back up this side, back down that side, and then I think we're done. Fuel is no longer a concern. We're definitely low, but we've got enough to get this done, which is good, because it then means I can use the 7R tomorrow to transport bales, you know, over to the barn to sell them off, which is important because the sheer weight of 26 round bales on the trailer is going to be a little bit probably too much for the for the 6M. It might struggle a little bit with just a weight that much. You know, it would be able to pull it, but it wouldn't be very responsive. It would be a bit sluggish. So definitely going to help us out in that respect. We might, though, possibly use the 6M. It depends. If we're going to the barn, then we'll use the 7R and we'll just unload them at the barn automatically. But if we go to the BGA, we could sell them there. And whereas the price might not quite be as good, or it might be better, we don't really know yet. One benefit we will get is that we'll start to generate some digestate through the process of getting our bales sold off. So that will bring us in some effectively some free fertilizer, which we can leave in storage until we're ready to use it. So I need to lower the plough. That might help. There we go. So yeah, we basically have a free slurry type fertilizer available to use at some point going forward. Now we could use that potentially on this field. I think we could certainly get a decent application on here, and combined with the slurry that our own cows are producing, we might possibly get enough to actually cover this whole field. That means we would need to, at the very least, lease a slurry spreader for next year, or possibly buy one. I'd like to perhaps buy one if I can. I think being able to produce some digestate to supplement the slurry that our cows are generating would be very, very useful for us going forward. It would certainly save us a little bit of extra cash in terms of fertilising costs once we've paid off that initial outlay for a slurry spreader. Because if this is something we're going to do on a regular basis, then buying a spreader becomes much more of a necessity than just leasing one, because the leasing costs building up over time would just outweigh the cost of actually just buying one outright. So that's another potential bit of equipment that we might need to look at investing in over the winter. I'm sure we can get a smallish one that won't be too expensive, but by the same token, we want one that's not so small that we're constantly having to refill it, because it's going to be a long old trek back to the BGA where the digestate is stored. If we have to do that every couple of passes on the field, it would take a very, very long time to actually get any work done. So there's positives and negatives to digestating. And let's get this final lap of the field done. So we drop the plough down. There we go. So one up, one down, and then we are done, and we have ourselves a brand new field ready for planting next year. I mean, we could theoretically go ahead and put a cover crop on this today, but I'd rather we got the field treated with lime first of all. That's going to happen over the winter itself, before the ground freezes up. We'll make sure that we get some lime in. If we do get the opportunity, we do manage to find the time, then we may well try and get a cover crop in there as well. But the field already will have a kind of a natural state of fertilisation from having been recently mowed, so there will be some nutrients, plus with the grass we're turning in as well, there'll be some nutrients in the ground already. So we'll only need to sort of really give it one kind of little boost of fertiliser, and if we use a cover crop, then we won't need to fertilise the field at all next year. So there is an advantageous kind of benefit, a very attractive kind of benefit to try and get a cover crop in if we can. I get the feeling that the ground might not be ready in time before it starts to get too cold. We may have missed the window, but we'll certainly make sure that we get lime treatment on the field before it gets too cold, and then if necessary, I say we can put a single stage of fertiliser on the field next year. See the birds there trying to get at the worms that we're turning up. There we go. Give the plough a rotation. Dear, can't speak today. And our final pass, just to make sure that we get furrows all the way down the field. I think we'll probably tidy up after our cows a little bit today as well. Once we've done this, it's been a little while since we've cleaned them out. We'll make sure that they get mucked out. We'll make sure that their food area is all nice and clean and tidy. And then we'll start loading some bales onto a trailer ready for tomorrow so that we can run those down when they're finished fermenting. I'm looking forward to working this field with the harvester next year. I think we could end up with quite a nice little haul from this field. It's a good old size, isn't it? I'd say potentially it's going to mirror the size of Field 1 in some respects. I think it's going to be quite as good a yield as Field 1, but you know, it has that weird shape. I mean, if you look at it as a straight edge, it's not necessarily clear, but it does feel a little bit longer, if slightly skinnier in places. So it'll be comparable, I think, to Field 1. Maybe a little bit less in terms of sort of total yield. And I'm still trying to decide what crop to plant on this field as well. I think we might well go for wheat on this field next year. And there we go. We are done. So let's get this folded up. There we go. And make our way back to the yard so we can get everything cleaned off, and then we'll actually go and take this back to the store now that we've finished using it. So here we are then in the 6M, having returned from the store. Get a weight hooked up so we've got some good counterbalance. We're going to start with the cows, get those done first, and then we'll move over to baling after that. So let's grab our silage cutter first of all, so that we can work on scooping the food and then scooping the manure. There we go. Get ourselves backed out. Got to be careful I don't knock those bales over. They should be far enough away from gates and stuff. We don't have to worry about food levels. We don't have to worry about water levels. They're both fine. We're just going to tidy up a little bit, I think. Go. So that's the food taken care of. There's the manure. You can see that's starting to pile up a little bit. Let's close this gate behind us. We'll go out this way. And we also need to get this gate open as well. There we go. Now we can close this one. Oops. Our angle is not very good here. There we go. I was trying to avoid going into a cow, and the cow just decided to move into us anyway. There we go. See, our little stockpile of manure is starting to build up. And again, this is something else we can use as a natural fertiliser, although if we're going to fertilise any of our fields, we're going to need a lot more than this. That's for sure. And while we're in here talking about the cows, once again, just want to kind of reiterate, a lot of people still seem to be under the misapprehension that you need to feed the cows grass this year. You don't. It's an option. I was actually chatting with a good buddy of mine about this quite recently, actually. He was complaining about needing to feed the cows grass. And I pointed out that it's now an optional food source. You know, whereas with 17, we had to feed them grass no matter what, and then we could either feed them hay or silage, or hay and silage, or TMR as food sources. We did kind of need to give them grass no matter what. It made up 20% of the food required for the cows last year. This year it's completely optional, so you have 3 food types or 3 food groups. The first one is just grass, and that will give you I think 20-25% effectiveness or productivity with your cows. Alternatively, instead of grass, you can feed them hay and silage, and you get your cows up to, I think, about 80% productivity. Or you can feed them just TMR, and that will give them a full 100% productivity from their food. To get the full 100% overall productivity, you still need to give them straw for bedding as well, but you can get by with just TMR as their single solitary food source, and the cows are more than happy with that. And of course, with the TMR, you can mix it up in various different ways. You can include straw as a kind of a filler, maybe to pad out your supplies of silage and hay if you want to, but straw is not a compulsory component of making TMR. And if you decide not to use straw, and just go with hay and silage on their own, which is what I do, then the minimum requirement is 25% of one and 75% of the other. So you can do 25% hay and 75% silage, or you could flip it around and go 25% silage and 75% hay if you've got an overabundance of hay and not much silage. Or you could just keep it nice and simple, do what I do, and go for a pretty much a straight 50-50 mix. I'm keeping it 50-50 at the moment because I have baled food sources, so I have bales of hay and bales of silage, so 50-50 mix is nice and easy. It's just 1 bale of each, and I don't have enough space in the mixing wagon to put a third bale in, so I can't go for 2 of one and 1 of the other, which is what I probably would be doing if that mixer supported a larger capacity. But because the capacity is less than 12,000 litres, I just do 1 of each bale, straight 50-50 mix, and that works just fine. When we move into loose materials, which we will do going forward, then we can get a little bit more creative with our mixes. So we can go with sort of a 25%, 75% mix, or maybe a 60-40 or 70-30. It doesn't have to be exactly 50-50. And we'll kind of make that decision based on whichever we have more of, whether we have more hay or whether we have more silage. We may well keep doing hay bales and loose silage. We may go loose hay and loose silage, and then we can keep our bale count low for when we do sort of straw bales for selling and silage bales for maybe selling as well, to make some digestate nice and quickly. So it'll give us some options, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it next year. It's going to be a little while before we're ready for that, but let's hook up to our... I need to clean that rear weight. No, that's looking pretty filthy. Let's hook up to our bale spikes. Oops. There we go. Pull those out nice and carefully at the second attempt. And we'll leave those ones just there for now. I want to leave those out there till I know that they're ready before I stick them in, because then they'll become part of our food mixing. Just clean this weight off. But now we're going to go and start stacking bales up on the trailer, which I've already pulled around to where our other bales are stacked. I'm going to try and get a full load of 26 bales on that trailer ready for tomorrow, so that the first thing we do is take those down, get those sold off, raise some funds. The first load will definitely be going to the barn. Any loads beyond that might possibly go to the BGA. They may just stay here. And we're hoping that by tomorrow our wiring work on the farm will be done, and we'll have working access lights all over the place. So that'll be good as well. There's our trailer all parked up, as you can see. This is where it's going to get a little bit tricky, trying to remove these bales without disturbing the stack too much. Oh, give that one a bit of a nudge. This is where I've got to be really careful that I don't end up playing dominoes and knock the whole lot flying, because there's 74 bales there. That's 3 trailers. That's I don't want to have those just rolling around all over the place. And you can see I've parked the trailer at a bit of an angle again, just to try and make getting these bales stacked on here a little bit easier, so that they're kind of rolling down towards the base of the trailer at all times. Should keep them in position a little bit more easily while I'm getting them kind of lined up on here. We may possibly go for a trailer with some creels next year, if we do decide to keep doing this. Don't forget as well, next year we'll actually be having hopefully we'll be getting our hands on one of those Anderson round bale movers, which will give us the ability to carry 24 bales off the field, and we may just use that as our main default transport trailer for actually transporting bales as well, rather than just taking them off the field. We'll see how we get on with that. This one's spiked at a bit of a weird angle, so I have to be careful with this one. We're not straight on. Trying to nudge that other bale slightly just to get it to line up a bit better. And there we go. I think they're sitting a little bit too far over on the other side. That's not too bad though. I'm reasonably happy with that. You can see they're kind of pushing down on that slope, so let's get that strap on, get those first 2 locked in place, and start stacking the rest on here. So as I say, at the very least tomorrow, the very first thing we can do is take a full trailer's worth of bales down and bring in a nice chunk of cash, because we do need to buy some spare parts to get these tractors sort of restored and back up and running a bit. Plus I need to be able to buy lime. That's another job we've got to get through early tomorrow, is getting lime spread on field 19. We've got a little bit left, but not much. Certainly not enough to get the field done. Oops, we lost a bale. There we go, and if we can get a bit faster with our stacking of bales as well, on the trailer, that'll certainly help us out, because we're going to have to do that twice more tomorrow to get all of them sort of loaded and ready to sell. What I may well do is on the upper level, the second layer of bales, I'll probably start trying to stack them 2 at a time if I can, just to speed things up a touch. And for now I'm just going to keep this base level probably at 1 each, 1 per attempt, so I can make sure that they actually sit nicely and don't start misbehaving on the trailer. So I'll crack on with some bale stacking like this, and I'll catch up with you once this trailer is just about loaded and ready. So last 2 bales here for the trailer. This will take us up to 26. A nice steady amount there. Oops. Don't want to push too far forward. Knock them off the back. And there we go. We have 26 bales all nicely and neatly stacked and secured. So that is now ready to be transported over to the barn tomorrow morning. That'll give us, hopefully somewhere between 25 and 30 grand in terms of just, that trailer's worth of bales. That'll set us up quite nicely for being able to effect the repairs that we need to do on our equipment and start putting money towards some other bits and bobs as well. I'm going to go drop the spikes off. We have been asked to do a couple of delivery runs, one of which is from the Marwell Activity Centre, which is the first one we're going to do, and that's going to drop us off near the woods. And then, by the sawmill. And then we've got something to take from the sawmill over to Rainbow Stores as well. So 2 nice and simple delivery jobs that'll help us out quite nicely, give us a little bit of extra cash as well. And we've got rain coming. Look at that, our first rain of the year is getting ready to hit us. That'll probably happen a little bit later. It means it could be a very miserable day tomorrow. Luckily we haven't got any harvesting that needs to be done, so it's not going to cause us a threshing delay. Straighten out the forks so we don't skewer anyone or anything. There we go. Let's go make our first pickup. And the Marwell Activity Centre, pretty much right opposite the entrance to our farm. Or not far off anyway. Is there anything coming? Just edging out, I don't see anything coming. I don't see anything in the mirrors either. And now we'll indicate right, because we've got to turn just here. And there you can see we've got a couple of pallets of items that need to be delivered. So once again we'll do our usual little trick of kind of pushing those down towards each other a little bit. There we go. Straightened up. Oops. This could be problematic. We've been able to recover that. Oh, no, not quite. This is not ideal. We'll just have to be really careful as we make our way over to the sawmill. Hopefully that other crate will stay on our fork. I'm a little concerned about that actually. Let's try and square that back up again. It's just too much of a risk, isn't it? We don't want something to get damaged. There we go. That's better. There we go. So, let's make our way over to the sawmill. Which way do I need to go? I need to go right here, don't I? Again, it looks as though we're clear, nothing coming that we can see. We've gone out just in time there. Give that truck a little bit of a wide berth. And there's that car, look. It must have been abandoned by somebody. It's still there. Unless it's somebody out, you know, just happened to be somebody parking up and walking their dog in the woods, and we just happen to come by every time they're parked up there. It's possible. Stranger things have happened. Who knows? Who knows for sure? So here's our drop-off point, I think. Yep, there we go. And once again, we'll just go and notify someone that the delivery has arrived and collect our payment. Alright, so that's the first item dropped off, and there you can see that's what we need to deliver. Now this one's been parked at a strange angle, so this will be a little bit tougher to get in. I'm going to make sure I don't hit the car, or the toilets, or the telegraph pole, or anything, really. But we're going to have to approach this one at a slight angle. Let's get some lights on just to make it a little bit easier to see where we're going and what we're doing. Level out the forks. There we go. Now we're off to the Rainbow store, sort of way off over there. So let's get back to the road. Running low on fuel on this as well. Both of our tractors kind of just hanging on. We'll be able to start effecting repairs and go out and buy some more fuel tomorrow, but we're kind of down to the last little bits of reserves of both power and fuel for both of our tractors. They're just kind of clinging on at the moment. You can see we got about 850 quid for the last job there. This one will pay a little bit less. This one will probably pay just over 600 for this one. So not a huge delivery. You can see we're only carrying one pallet as well, which is going to cut down on the fee a little bit. Yep, nothing coming. There we go. So yeah, tomorrow then, I'm trying to think plan of action. Tomorrow we're going to be repairing our vehicles, which are desperately needed. It's going to be setting off, obviously, those bales. The first batch we'll sell at the barn. Then not sure where or when we'll sell the second batch. We might possibly see if we can get the BGA sorted. Hopefully our wiring will be done and the electrician will be finished tomorrow. We can actually start getting some light around the farm. Maybe a few other little tweaks will take place at the same time. We're certainly a big involved job. We also want to try and get field 1 limed as well. Sorry, field 19 limed as well. Now that we've got all that ploughed up, and if we do possibly get the chance as well, maybe even get a cover crop planted in there as well. So certainly stuff to do. It doesn't look as though we're going to have time to do another cut on the other half of field 19, so we'll let that just grow in the new year properly, and then come spring we'll do a cut there. I just need to figure out where I need to drop these off. I'm trying to remember. Where is our drop-off point over here? There it is, right in front of us. Excellent stuff. There we go. So fold the forks up so we can head back to the farm like this, and again we're just going to pop in, claim our cash, and make our way back to the farm. Well, I was all set to head back to the farm, and then I got a phone call, and the Marwell Centre would like us to make another delivery. This one to go over to the BGA, and then there's also something at the BGA which needs to be delivered to the Hollisters. So we've actually got another couple of quick delivery jobs to do, and you know, it's extra cash, isn't it? Can't turn that down really when we're in debt like this, so we'll quite happily take these jobs on. So first off, we're going to go drop this off at the BGA, and then from the sort of the scrapyard area, we've got a couple of items to be delivered over to the Hollisters at Marwell Manor itself. So we'll see you at the BGA in just a moment. So first delivery about to be completed. And we're getting news that the dairy is just about ready to open back up for business. That should be happening in the next day or two as well. So everything's starting to come good. That's something else we're going to have to invest in now that we're in a position to be able to actually, going forward, sell our milk at the dairy. We're going to need to invest in a milk transport trailer as well. That's something we might possibly be able to pick up tomorrow, depending on how much money we can make from bale sales. So there's the first box dropped off. Let's pop into the office, let them know it's done, get our cash, and move on to the next one. So there are the Hollisters' possessions to be collected there. That's a series of cases and items there. No idea what's in there, but I know better than to ask questions that are none of my business. You know, it's suitcases and bags and stuff. It's obviously personal possessions, so there's no more information than that is needed. Certainly don't want to offend or upset or insult our benefactors. They are our bosses after all. They ask us to do something, we do it. Right, get lined up. Forks lowered. There we go. So off to go and see the Hollisters, drop these items off, and then we'll be calling it a day and turning in for the night. We're going to be looking at around about £1,200 for this delivery job here. So this will take us to an overdraft of about 1,000, which isn't too bad. Maybe 1,200. It'll halve the current sort of overdraft debt that we have at the moment. Obviously that's going to go up again overnight, but it's a little bit less money that we have to kind of give up tomorrow for for our bales when we sell them. It's a little bit less debt that needs to be covered with a bale sale. So that's going to just help us out, isn't it? We've saved we've saved £2,500 already so far today, just running these little transport missions, and another one as well. So that's effectively going to be 3, maybe 4 bales worth, that we're effectively going to get paid for now that we weren't until we did these jobs. So I'm quite happy with that. And once these are dropped off, I'm going to go home. I'm going to get everything cleaned, put away, put my feet up, have something to eat, and make sure that everything is good, ready for tomorrow morning. So we'll call it a day here. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Marwell Manor very soon.